Um, Good evening. Thank you for the introduction, Kevin. It's great to be back out here. My name is Jason Mundok. Just give you a little background about myself so you have some context. I have been making files, as it were, since 2000. I was introduced to FileMaker. I think, like many people in our community, I had a job doing something that had nothing to do with FileMaker, and I had a problem I needed to solve. And I was managing an event, like a conference with multiple tracks and multiple speakers, and I needed to somehow figure out how to schedule all this stuff. And a friend of mine in the technology department of the organization I was with said, "You should try FileMaker. It's on your computer." And I opened it, and he said, "Here's a database that someone used a couple of years ago that you could probably just modify, and it might serve your purpose." It was close enough, and it did the job, and I thought, "Boy, this is really interesting. I like this." And so I learned a little bit more about it. And next thing you know, I was helping other people with their FileMaker solutions, and ended up doing a little bit of it as a job in that organization until eventually I became a consultant in 2004. I was working at that time for a FileMaker Platinum company in Philadelphia called IT Solutions as a developer and a trainer, and then eventually I became a project manager. And I was exclusively a project manager at IT Solutions for about 5 years until 2012 when I decided it was time to go out on my own. And so I started my own company and have been a single developer shop ever since. So I'm an independent consultant. But I do FileMaker for a living. I mean, I do projects for my clients, and in addition to just doing consulting around the FileMaker platform, I also have been doing some project management coaching and training along the way, which is what brings me out here tonight. So what I like to do at the meetups is some FileMaker stuff and also some project management stuff, and I'll keep both of those kind of short so we can talk about what I bring to the table, and hopefully you'll get something from it, even if you're not in the consulting space. I think there's just a lot about managing a project is hopefully interesting to you if you're, say, an in-house developer as well. You can translate some of that stuff out of the consulting space. So I was going to start with the FileMaker side, which is about implementing barcodes into a solution. And I ran the Philly FileMaker meetup for many years, and recently just started a meetup in my own town, which is Lancaster, Pennsylvania. It's about 70 miles west of Philadelphia. And one of the things that one of the things I didn't like so much about some of the meetups I've been involved with is super technical topics, right? Like developers showing off the most technical thing that they could think of, thinking that everybody in the room wanted to go as far as you could possibly go with the platform. I kind of like the opposite, which is let's introduce something that everybody can wrap their heads around, or most people can wrap their heads around. So what I'm bringing is a very easy way to implement barcodes into a solution, and it's free, which also helps. And I've implemented this in a number of solutions recently. A good friend of mine, another independent developer in the Lancaster area, was doing some subcontract work for me, and we needed barcodes, and he introduced me to the method. I ended up taking it and implementing it in a couple solutions, and so I thought it might be something that we could talk about. It won't take terribly long to show you how to do it, and then if you're interested, you can grab a copy of the database. I do have a sample copy that I'll give to Kevin to post on the meetup. You can download, and hopefully you can utilize this. I thought it was a really, really slick way of doing barcodes. Anybody have a need for that, like where barcodes is actually a thing? I'm interested in. It comes up for me when I do projects. That's one of those sort of buzzwords. Can we do barcodes? Say, yeah, we can do barcodes. A lot of times it's like sort of like dashboards where you talk about it and then you get into the project, you don't actually implement it. But barcodes do come up quite a bit, and like I said, just recently I've had 2 cases in 2 different solutions where client said, "I'd really like to have a barcode that we could scan and do something with," and was able to implement this solution very easily. So what I'm using is a product. Well, it's a free product. I don't know if you call it a product, but it's a free solution from ClickWorks, which is a company. I don't remember where they're from. Denmark, maybe. And they offer this as part of the. They offer this. That's just it fires up the default. I've got all the versions here. They offer this as a free download, something that they put together a couple years ago and have modified a little bit over the years. It's kind of a as-is download. You can download it and implement into your solution. And I put a copy of the latest version in the demo file that you can download out of that container field there. But when my friend first told me, he said, "Yeah, I've got this free barcode thing," I thought, "Oh boy." And then we implemented it, and it just kind of worked. So I thought, well, I'm not going to make this any more complicated than it has to be.
I like that label in the bottom left over there.
What's that?
Pimp it.
Pimp it, yeah. And I reached out to these guys, and I just said, "Hey, I'm going to do." Oh, they're in Belgium. I'm gonna use this and talk about it, spread the word a little bit. And they were like, "Yeah, great, sure, go for it." So in my example, what I'm going to do is just generate a barcode from a unique ID, from just a serial number, and then I'll demonstrate how you can scan it with FileMaker Go from an iPhone and do something with it. Take that information and run a script. I try to jot down the features that get utilized in these demos, just so you have kind of an idea, and if it's something that you haven't used before, because of whatever reason, like you just didn't have an opportunity to take advantage of one of these FileMaker features, you will use it if you implement this. So it uses a custom function. That's sort of at the heart of the barcode that they wrote, and you can just import into your solution. It uses a web viewer primarily to display the barcode. So there is some formatting around that you have to pay attention to. We'll use FileMaker Go, and we'll use the iOS camera to scan the barcode in this case. But you could scan this barcode with anything. It's a standard barcode. And it uses, in the script that I've put together, it's just a simple demonstration. We'll set variables, and we'll use the insert from device script step in order to capture the barcode. So what I have in this demo database here is simple customer layout with basic contact information. And right over here, I have two fields that are listed really for information's sake. So I'm using a UUID for the actual primary key for this table. I'm not using a serial number, but I have a second field, which is a serial number that is being auto incremented, and doing that because most humans want to see a serial number of some kind and don't really want to see a UUID. But I started using the UUIDs when they became available and native in FileMaker, and it's been very useful in syncing and for other reasons. So I do use those for my primary keys, but this again is just a serialized auto-enter number. So you can see right here is a barcode that represents this field right here. And when I scan it, the value that I'm going to get back is the number, the 1,000. That's the value that comes back in. So one of the things, I started using barcodes probably 10 years ago now. I was working on a solution that used barcodes and had some other method of generating the barcode. And what I didn't understand at the time is that really, when you scan a barcode, you're really just typing text in a field. That's what's happening. So there's no real magic behind it. It's just a representation that a scanner can read and enter text. When I heard that, even back then, I was just like, oh, okay, well, that's simple enough. But I think until you kind of know that, it's sort of like barcodes. How do I do that? So for me, that was sort of an eye-opener. So fast forward to the future, when I needed to implement barcodes in a new solution, it kind of simplified my thinking about the purpose of it and what I'm going to do with it. So let me just go into layout mode here, and I'll zoom in a little bit and show you what's going on. So that barcode is a web viewer, and if I double-click on it, you can see that the URL, if you will, the formula behind the web viewer is a custom function called EasyBarcode with a whole bunch of parameters. I've commented out the custom function down here so that you can see what those parameters actually represent in the function. So that's the only reason that that bottom line is there. All you really need is the custom function right here. The value that the barcode is the first parameter, and that's the most important one. You can literally just put double quotes or nothing for the rest of the parameters, and it will work just fine. It will display a barcode. The rest of it is the pimping part.
Does it just default to 128 or something?
Yeah, yeah. So if I were to actually then want to implement this in a new solution, I would literally just go to my custom functions. I could import the custom function from the other file, from the EasyBarcode file that I downloaded, which is what I did here. Imported that custom function, draw a web viewer on my screen, and then use the custom function and define it the way that I defined it in the other example. So if I wanted to say use the contact number, and I'll just leave it all at the defaults. You can't have, as they point out in their demo file, you can't set optional parameters. Cannot. So that, in other words, you have to, whatever they define in their custom function as the parameters, you have to just put an all value in for all of those. Well, perhaps you'd like to take this and enhance it, and make it.
So like just three arguments value with height.
You could call it easier barcode.
Easier barcode.
By DB services. Go into browse mode, and you can see you get a default. You get a barcode. I mean, that's so the truth in advertising. It's pretty easy to generate a barcode. The next step you really need to think about is the fact that it's a web viewer means that you got those status bars and the scroll bars and things of that nature. So it's a good idea to just go ahead and just unclick all of the stuff that's down below on the web viewer. And now you've got at least a cleaner looking barcode. And the caveat that I listed for this particular method is the formatting gets tricky, right? Because you can't center align the image and that sort of thing in a web viewer. So there's really a little bit of trial and error. Like to get this barcode looking like this, which I think is, if I flip through these records, it looks pretty good. And I could drop that on a label. I could drop that on a layout that gets printed. I could drop that somewhere. And it's formatted pretty well. But it took me a little bit of time to tweak that. Most importantly is the second parameter here, which is where I have a 2, and that's the width. So it's the I guess pixel width of the lines that make up the barcode, and that lets you stretch out. So you see the difference between the default and this one. It stretches it out, makes it wider.
And the quiet space is specified too.
Yeah. I'll open up the demo here and just kind of play with some of those parameters. You can see how it changes things. So again, it's pretty simple how to import that custom function, drop the barcode on the screen, and you're ready to roll. So if I come over here to their example, these values here are just feeding the parameters. Right, so let me open up the web viewer in this demo file, and rather than having those predefined parameters like I had, you're pointing to fields, and so you're letting the user configure those parameters by making changes to the fields and then having the custom function read those fields.
Where do you specify the barcode type?
What's that?
Where do you specify for? And it supports QR code.
I don't know if it does QR. Let me. So the sample file comes with an explanation of requirements. And if you don't have the correct parameters, it just returns nothing. These are the options you have here. Yeah, so it's just, I've just always used the 128. The cases where I've been asked to implement barcodes, it's really just give me a barcode and let me scan it. They don't really care. It's really just about bringing that information back. So here's where you change the parameters, and you can kind of see the difference. Right here is the value that's being fed into the barcode. And so if I change this to a 3, you see how it stretches it out, the width. So you'd have to obviously reformat the actual web viewer. This space here, that just adds padding to the web viewer. You can see it move to the left as I change those parameters. I think it was at 1. Displaying the value will let you turn on or off the actual text. So if you want to hide that, you can do that by setting that parameter. The text align is where the text fits underneath the barcode. And then the font size is for the text, and background color and barcode color is also set. Now, this right over here is there's a script in the sample file called EasyBarcode callback, and there's a parameter now in 2.2. The last parameter is a script, and you can put the name of a script in there, and it will, well, supposedly, it will run that script and then drop an image version of the barcode into a container field. I had implemented the version without that, and it served my purpose, right? I got a barcode, put on a label, printed it out, scanned it, works. Last night I was like, oh, let me try that, and when I put in a new value, this was not firing, and I didn't dig any further into it to see what was going on with that, because the script, I believe the script was defined in this, yeah, right down there, EasyBarcode callback. So I didn't troubleshoot it. When you download the file or you get the file from their website, you're welcome to obviously check that out and see. But I haven't personally used that. I just continue to use the web viewer version.
Are you in FileMaker 16? It says you have to be in FileMaker 16.
No, it's, well,
no, in 16 you need to do the privilege set.
Yeah, you have to set the privilege set in FileMaker 16. So, in any event, I have this demo file on running on FileMaker 14 because I had the FileMaker 14 server on my laptop, and I wanted to demonstrate then scanning the barcode. I'll just scan right off of the screen. Do I have Reflector open? So I'm going to open up FileMaker Go on my iPhone.
Can we download this demo directly from your machine? See you after.
You can, yeah. Yeah, feel free. So if you want to open this, if you want to open Mundok Demo Fest from the Mundok MacBook Pro, you can navigate to the barcode demo layout and just.
What server do you have? It says host does not support this version. Is that 16?
Yeah, if you have 6, this is 14. Yeah,
Oh.
and it's a developer license, so it's just the connections. You might need to wait. So yeah, it's a good point. I didn't think about that.
I got it.
Also, the FMP URL might not work on a local file in 14.
The what?
The FMP URL might not work on a local file. It might not work.
Yeah, but I'm not using the FMP URL.
You would have to develop the script. We were trying to.
Oh, to run. Oh, you were troubleshooting the script.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You probably have to open M15. It might work.
Okay. Yeah, we'll try that. So let me open up the demo here. Oh, the host capacity was exceeded. Yeah,
Sorry about that.
that's all right.
I have 14, 16 other versions.
Oh, there it is.
I got Toyota. They're around 14 still.
Anybody else have it open?
We're working on it.
Maybe you're not supposed to.
Can you close it?
Oh, can I close it?
Oh.
We're trying to hack it.
And get a couple of Russians over here.
I almost got into Mundok Demo Fest. God, it looks like such an exciting name to connect to.
So in the file, I simply am checking to see if I'm logging in from an iPhone, and if that's the case, then I go to this layout, which has the scan button and the close button. So I'm going to tap the scan button, and I just held that right up to the barcode that's being displayed on my screen. And what happened is I got an image, and I also got text returned into these two global fields you can see up there. And I sent a message that said scan record created. So I just refreshed my screen back here, and you can see what happened was at 10:05 at 6:30 I added a related record. So scan the barcode, made something happen. It's pretty slick. I have found where, you know, if you don't have to be super precise or shoot a barcode scan like, well, let me just explain it some context. One of the solutions that I implemented was theater lighting inventory system, where they would have the barcodes on these lights that are hung in this theater, like 3,000 lights at a time. These guys are up in the rafters and have to repair these lights. In that case, you probably don't want to have your iPhone sort of trying to scan the back of a light while you're hanging on scaffolding. So they had like an external barcode scanner that mounted on it actually used an iPod Touch, but it was like a separate reader that mounted on, and they could sort of scan from a distance. That worked really well. But if you're just doing basic scanning off of a sheet of paper or something, the phones, and they work pretty well. I mean, it's pretty slick. I mean, I just scanned that right off of my screen, and you know, as soon as I kind of hold it near, it gets close, and it goes ahead and scans.
So they improved in the last few years?
It's more about the camera quality.
Is that what it is? I mean,
Well,
here's
years ago,
It's terrible. The
camera
quality wasn't
focusing.
great.
is that right?
As the camera can focus. Yeah.
Well, this is an iPhone 6.
Did improve it. Like I said, they made it faster.
This is an iPhone 6, and you'll see here I've got this record up. If I tap scan, like that was it. I just kind of had it in the neighborhood,
But you have a good light source.
and it's already worked over here. But
Yeah, you've got a good light source. If it's slightly dark, it becomes tricky.
yeah,
Yeah, and I think as Emery said, they did update the Go 16 to be better.
So, any guidelines as far as the density of the text, how many characters in the string, alphanumeric?
there's no restrictions as far as I know in terms of like the type of characters. You can see that they're using a mixed bag here. I haven't tested the length. All of mine have been, you know, under 10 characters, basically an ID number.
There's a compression there too, to compress the barcode, so you can get more characters in that.
Oh, possibly so. Yeah. I mean,
128 versus 3 of 9, which is
if we put a whole bunch of stuff in
Yeah,
here.
it's just straight.
It's about 40 on 128,
Okay.
Switch it to code 39.
as far as being able to read it, scan.
Yeah, too much. I don't.
This is exactly why we're in the packaging business. We test all barcodes before the package goes out. We run 5 million copies because
I
it
think
has to have
underscore works.
Oh, yeah.
In code 39.
Barcode.
That wouldn't be good. Right? A lot of recycling going on.
Yeah.
So just to take a peek under the hood here, if you're interested in kind of how this is working or what's happening on the back end, again, nothing super advanced going on here. I set a global field initially, or a global variable that scan status, and all I'm doing with that is I have that on the layout when it says scan is successful or whatever it says. I can't remember the message. That's just being set in this global variable up here, and then this is when I'm tapping the scan button. Insert from device, and the type is barcode, and it takes care of. I can set some parameters here, but essentially what I'm doing is I'm setting the insert from device into that container field. It's a global container, and then insert from device in the text field as well. That's just to demonstrate the difference between the two types. If the field, what I learned is that the field type is a container. It puts an image. It puts a, it's an image. What really works is for my purposes, a global text field type barcode scan from. This drops the text in the field, and then I can use that text. I set this variable with the value that comes in, and then go into the contact table, find the record on the iPad or on the iPhone, set the UUID here, and then I go to the related table and create the related record. And that's what creates that record in a portal.
And your find criteria is hidden, I'm assuming, right, based on that perform find. You didn't do inner find mode set field.
Right.
Find.
Oh, sorry.
Are you looking at that? You're like hidden script guy.
Yeah, that's the find criteria there. So, again,
I thought you were old school. What's going on? Is this someone else's code?
I've upped my game. So, no, I mean, the point is that, once I grab that data from the scan, I can go and do whatever I want with it. I can pass that into a script, and I can do any level of complexity in terms of a process.
Have you thought of actually trying to combine this with also iBeacons?
I have not.
We have a huge room with plates that makes metal plates. We're thinking, well, we know which device we're near. We could get that from the iBeacon scan barcode and combine it.
That's cool. Yeah. No, I haven't had an application where that would be needed. But I've been really interested in the beacon. I just haven't had a project where I've had an opportunity to implement it. So yeah, the point here is that it's a relatively simple implementation of a barcode, and yet it's like for two of my clients in particular, like this was a very easy fix, or not even fix, but it was a very easy solution. Hey, I need a barcode. Okay, I'll have it to you by 5 o'clock. I don't know, you know what I mean? And they had iOS devices and could scan, so it was really useful for me.
Okay, quick question. So I know they have Bluetooth external scanners.
Uh-huh.
How would you trigger the script when you scan a barcode with a Bluetooth scanner?
It automatically has a return character at the end for the scanner itself. So
Okay.
that triggers.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So in fact, when you said that, it reminded me of that lighting.
That's where I thought of it.
The lighting one was an implementation from a couple of years ago, and that's right. You basically tap a button and get the focus into a field.
Okay. Yeah, right.
Then we need the Bluetooth or whatever the scanner.
Yeah, because I've used external scanners before, but you had to be in the field first when you
Yeah.
scan for the text to go into it.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you just scanned it and boom, went to the script. You didn't have to be in the field.
Right. You don't have to be in the field in this case.
Okay.
And I'm thinking back to the old school barcode implementations we did like 10 years ago, and it was the same thing. We used that return character to do something. Capture that. Yeah.
Take a look at the custom function.
Oh yeah, sure.
It's a big one.
There are a lot of words in here. Sure.
Does it work without internet?
Is there a
Yeah,
reason it's
I think
blue?
it's-
Can you click inside of it?
Or just JavaScript?
Oh, sorry.
I don't think it's unless it's library. It works without internet, right?
I would imagine it's doing similar stuff.
Do you have any issues printing the web viewer?
I have not had issues printing it.
You just gotta pause sometimes.
Yeah, because I've had weird things. Sometimes you have to pause, let it fully load.
That's correct.
I mean, yeah.
So the question was if any issues printing the web viewer, and an individual label, I have not. But there was a case where they wanted a full sheet. It was like used it for staff IDs. So you would load up a full sheet of labels and print off these IDs that go into like a plastic. And in that case, you have to pause the script and let all of them load.
You probably only have the first view.
Yeah, it would just show the first, like whatever it had time for. Like the script was too fast, but it was just a 2-second pause or something. It was fine.
The conditional windows too, printing web viewers not print at full resolution. They print it like it looks like 72 or 86 dpi. A Mac they print clear, but Windows, that's why it's important to get that into a container field.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice thing about code 39 is it's just a font, so you don't have to have the custom function.
Oh, okay.
But you're limited on your text. You can do alpha, basic punctuations, and numerics.
The machine has to have a font.
Yeah, this way you don't have to do
It's a free font. Just
Yeah.
download it anywhere.
Yep.
But to print them.
Right.
Yeah.
And from there, you don't need it anymore.
Because in my case, a couple machines that have a font that messes some things up pretty bad.
You gotta wrap the font in asterisks for the scanners to find it.
Gotcha.
Can you put the font?
ID automation is?
Can you put the font? You can put fonts on iOS.
Actually did a demo file with barcodes that I think he's using the same JavaScript library that I'm using in my demo.
Oh, there.
Yeah.
On the actual text.
So this demo file here, I stripped out all the other stuff. It's just the barcode stuff, and we'll post it on the Meetup group. If you want it now and you have a key drive or something, feel free to come up after and just load it up. Or I logged off my phone, so one at a time. I guess you can. Was it two connections or 3 maybe?
Will it airdrop?
Oh yeah, should be able to airdrop, right? If I airdrop to you.
I don't know if I can do it on my iPhone.
You, did you look at Todd Geist's barcode reader at all? Or barcode?
No, I saw he has a barcode creator, but I did not.
I've used that one. It's
Have you used it?
It's very robust and super easy to implement.
Great.
The challenge is always the kind of printer necessary to print the barcode. Because I mean, 128 with 10 characters is trivial, right? But what if you've got 2K worth of data?
Right.
A whole label buried in a barcode. Then it gets a little bit more tricky.
Like QR code.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the solution actually calculates the base 64 of PNG in FileMaker scripts. It's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Sets the container
You just gotta
based
pay
on
a
that.
little bit for it. But it works, right? Yeah, but it's
And
fairly
that
inexpensive.
would work server side too, right? Because
Yeah.
there's no web viewer. So
That's what I'm running here is server side.
But like you said, normally it's like a dashboard. It never happens. Like you're always like, but it's always the point where you're like, so what printer are we using? They're like, I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
What printer are we using?
is it showing up the?
I'm not
Yeah.
really familiar on how to do it with an iPad, to be honest.
All right.
I'll have to go down on that.
So in any event, you're welcome to check this out. I thought it was a really quick and easy and obviously free way of implementing a barcode. Worked for these particular cases that I've dealt with, and I thought it'd be something interesting to share.
Can you drag that on the airdrop?
What's that?
You were trying to air?
Yeah, I was going to airdrop. Do you want me to airdrop it?